Cades Cove, Cataloochee, Klingman's Dome, Oconaluftee, Chimney Tops, Haintuga, Gregory Bald, Ramsay Cascades. These are words of the Appalachian mountain world. These are words of the world of the Great Smokies. Along the eastern seaboard of the North American continent rises a range of mountains. Among the oldest on Earth, they were ancient when the great western Rockies lay flat at the bottom of a shallow sea, and dinosaurs ruled the land. Here at the climax of that range called the Appalachians is a land of infinite mood and mystery. Forested ridges recede gently into a veil of blue smoke. Tall fingers of fir are punctuated against the swirling mist, penetrators of myth and mystery, like the wind which sweeps the high places and the midday sun burning over still meadows. This is a scene of glorious vistas, a land of peaks and plunging valleys and soul-renewing solitudes. Rain-born torrents and lacy streams. It is a place of subtle wonders, modest plants and splendid flowers that fill the hollows and hug the cliffs. And small creatures. This is a place for discovery of nature, the ephemeral and the enduring, and of a human heritage, a vanished way of life. This is the crown jewel of the Appalachians. These are the Great Smoky Mountains. I'm Telly Savalas. Let's take a closer look. Time-worn and tumbled, the Great Smoky Mountains spill over both sides of the high frontier of Tennessee and North Carolina. Here is not the savage creation of the Grand Canyon, nor the ragged, towering mass of the Grand Tetons, nor is the geologic fury of a Yellowstone geyser displayed. These mountains, which are older by millions of years than the Rockies, Cascades, and Sierras, have been gentled by the patient hand of erosion. The wilderness, with its almost infinite variety of plant life, and the serenity to be found within its spaces, are the attractions of the Great Smokies. Only now and then, as the rock intrudes through its forested covering, does the realization come that the forest is but a veneer over the ancient heart of the mountains. It is upon a thin layer of soil, which varies from a few inches to several feet in depth, that this lush forest is dependent, all spread tenuously atop a solid rock core reaching more than 4 miles deep. The deepest mystery of the Appalachians is contained within the nature of its rock, made enigmatic by profound change, undergone through endless age. Geology is the heart science of the hills. Most of the rocks comprising the Great Smoky Mountains were formed during late Precambrian time, 1 billion to 600 million years ago. The ocean flooded in, and a 25 to 30,000 feet thick layer of sedimentary rock, known as the Ocoee series, was deposited. There are no fossils to be found here. It was created before plants and hard-bodied animals appeared. It was not until the Paleozoic era, between 600 and 300 million years ago, that life began to venture out of the sea and the Earth's first forests began to grow. A newer layer of sediment was deposited, limestone, the fossilized remains of marine life. The chimney tops are a prominent landmark overlooking Newfound Gap Road. They are part of the rugged terrain of the Anaquista Formation, erosion-resistant rocks which were tilted on edge during the next great period of mountain building. The violence of geologic forces erupted during an epoch called the Appalachian Revolution. Formations cracked and were folded. Older layers of rock masses were thrust upon younger ones, and layers of strata were tilted. It is the upended stratas of rock which form the craggy pinnacles of the Great Smokies. The forests and the creatures living within them were well established 1 million years ago, when the world's changing climate dramatically affected life patterns in the Smokies. Plants and animals, driven southward by advancing sheets of ice, found haven in the highlands. When the glaciers retreated, the new varieties of life remained. If the great teutonic forces which raised the mountains are measured in hours on the geologic clock, the 4 great epochs of the Ice Age, each lasting thousands of years, may be measured in minutes. But it is man, whose time here is but a millisecond, who has so greatly affected the land and the life upon it. This was once the ancestral heartland of the Cherokee. They named it Shakonagay, place of blue smoke. Like the pioneers who would soon displace them, the Cherokee built their mud and log structures, grew crops, hunted, practiced a democratic form of government, and believed in a supreme God. Native Americans inhabited the mountains for perhaps 1,000 years before the pioneers came to tame the wilderness. But they probably had little effect upon its natural history. With the arrival of the white settlers in the early 1800s, radical changes began. Who were the people who came to make their homes in the deep hollows and on the rocky hillsides of the Great Smokies? They came through the valleys and over the mountains, these hardy and restless pioneers, bearing their tools, Bibles, seeds for planting, and a few household possessions. Some moved on, but others stayed. They cleared the forest and tilled the soil. They built homes, barns, fences, raised their families, and when a community had grown, they built churches and schools. Scarcely a century passed before the advancing tide of mainstream America, industrialism, invaded the once secluded hill country. The depredation of lumbering and its effect on the great primeval forest may be heard in the words of poet Jesse Stewart. I weep to think these hills where I awoke will be destroyed, stem and flower and oak, and I would rather die than see the change. Fires and erosion ravaged the mountain slopes. Little would be left of the region's special character unless events could be quickly changed. In 1923, concerned citizens of Tennessee and North Carolina began to donate their time, efforts, and money to the development of a national park. Additional funds were donated by both state legislatures and by John D. Rockefeller Jr. to negotiate and purchase the deeds to over 6,000 individually owned parcels of land and the vast holdings of 18 lumber companies. But on June 15, 1934, the formidable task was done, and the Great Smoky Mountains National Park was established. Today, the number of visitors to a region once thought to be one of the most isolated in the eastern United States exceeds that of any other national park, around 10 million a year. This recreational and botanical reserve is the largest wilderness area on the east coast of the United States, encompassing over 1/2 million acres. About 30% of the acreage represents the most extensive virgin forest remaining, a frighteningly small portion. There are 16 peaks, exceeding 6,000 feet in elevation within the park. Clingman's Dome is the highest, at 6,642 feet. From the observation tower, 55 feet above ground, there is a spectacular panoramic view of the surrounding peaks and valleys. Mountains that seem to be everywhere, stretching ridge after ridge to the far horizon. Here, as elsewhere in the park, interpretive signs indicate significant natural features and points of interest to the viewer. With the establishment of the park, the ravaged forest began its return. The Smokies may seem as forested now as it could have ever been, but as much as 70% is young and only in the early stages of succeeding back to its original condition. The awareness of nature, its scent of evergreens and wildflowers, its sounds of birds and streams, begins within the splendor of the primeval forest. One of the longest continuous footpaths in the world crosses here, the Appalachian Trail. 2,000 miles long, extends from Maine into Georgia. The trail winds through the varied and often remote landscapes of 14 states. In the Great Smokies, it follows some of the highest ridges in the Appalachians, paralleling the Tennessee-North Carolina boundary. Over 900 miles of trail are maintained within Great Smokies National Park. The wondrous diversity of the Great Smokies is encountered on horseback at a leisurely pace along trails to adventure. The subtle variations of nature, its scents, its sounds, may be experienced on quiet walkways. Leaflets describe interesting features along self-guiding nature trails. General hiking trails lead to waterfalls or scenic overlooks. Hikers and backpackers may follow more strenuous routes to remote areas of the park. Always within the forest, there awaits the fascinating world of nature. In the 1770s, the glowing reports of noted explorer-botanist William Bartram introduced the southern Appalachians to the world as a wondrous place worthy of study and preservation. "200 years later, the park was designated an international biosphere reserve, one of over 215 worldwide. This declaration recognizes it as a place of tremendous biological diversity that is maintained in an undisturbed natural state. The forest richness continues to unfold for present-day biologists. Scientists come to observe its life forms and to probe the tantalizing areas of knowledge still withholding their secrets. Even the casual visitor may be stirred with questions. Why is a certain life form found nowhere else but in the Smokies? Why is a species of plant found only in northern climates growing here also? How did the Smokies get their name? And why is the mist always there? The mysteries are many for those with open eyes and an inquiring mind. The sound of water is the music of the mountains. It is never far away. The abundant streams and waterfalls are the result of an annual precipitation which averages about 50 inches at lower elevations and up to 83 inches at Klingman's Dome. Precipitation either evaporates, runs off into streams, or enters the ground and percolates down to the water table. Natural springs occur where the water table is close to the surface, resulting in streams which flow constantly the year round. Through eons of time, running water has sculpted the rugged landscape of the Great Smoky Mountains. Ramsay Cascades is the highest waterfall in the park, plunging 100 feet over the rocks amid a rich hardwood forest. It is one of the most spectacular cascades in the Smokies. Although Rainbow Falls is a small creek, the water drops about 80 feet. A fine ethereal mist is sprayed upon its rocky ledges. Water is the life of the mountains. It is home for species of animals, insects, and the water-loving plants that grow along the stream's banks. All life depends upon a plentiful source of clean water. The purity of the Smokies water is unexcelled elsewhere in the United States. A hemlock-forested trail leads to the cool, moist, easy-to-reach environment of Grotto Falls. Rushing, falling water. As the streams flow down the mountain, splashing over rocks and ledges, tumbling into frothy cascades and misty falls, they evoke a response, an ancient instinctive attraction. Listen to the stream, its movement, its noise. Observe its native plants and animals and feel its soothing fingers of cool spray. This is a special time and place. Communion with nature in the Great Smokies. The vegetation which grows in such variety in only a few other places in the world has been preserved and nurtured by the bountiful water supply in the park. It is the humidity and this abundance of greenery which causes the haze that lies almost constantly over the Smokies. Hydrocarbon molecules, called terpenes, are exuded by the plant leaves. Sunlight breaks down the molecules, which interact and form new and larger molecules. These begin to refract or bend the sun's rays. Combined with molecules of various forms of air pollution, the natural blue haze, or smoke, becomes thicker and whiter as the sunlight, now able to penetrate without refraction, is limited. As a Class 1 airshed, a designation contained in the Clear Air Act, the park is a focal point for monitoring pollution levels and the resulting environmental impact. Views from the mountains may be one of the most exhilarating experiences for visitors to the park. However, within the last 35 years, visibility has declined by about 30%. The chemistry of the haze is dominated not by natural organic compounds, but by human-produced substances, primarily sulfur-loading ozone. Over 35 research studies are ongoing to determine the effect on entire ecosystems. Ultimately, this research will afford better protection of the park's airshed and of its greatest treasure, the living forest. All things belonging to the earth will never change. The leaf, the blade, the flower, these things will always be the same. For they come up from the earth that never changes. They go back into the earth that lasts forever. Only the earth endures, but it endures forever, said author Thomas Wolfe. Plant life blankets these ancient mountains, softening their rugged outlines with a living mantle of green. Within these mountains are many habitats, each the result of a particular combination of rock, soil, elevation, slope, and rainfall. Each harbors its own characteristic community of plants. In the upper reaches of the park, temperatures average 10 to 20 degrees cooler than in the foothills. The spruce fir forest is characteristic of Canada and Maine. When the great glaciers of the Pleistocene period drove all life before them in an exodus for survival, red spruce was among the many life forms which sought refuge in the Smokies. Wood sorrel is another northern plant which became established here. It grows as an abundant ground cover beneath the towering conifers. A few plants, among them Rugel's ragwort or Indian plantain, occur only in the Smokies. They may have evolved during the great glacial epochs and have survived or persisted only here. Fraser fir grows only in the southern Appalachians. Dead or dying fir trees have been attacked by the balsam woolly adelgid, a tiny insect that feeds on the main stem. In 1983, the park's Resource Management Division began a control program using an environmentally safe insecticide. So far, this control effort has resulted in greatly reduced insect numbers. However, the substance must be sprayed by hand on individual trees, so few can be saved. Here and there amongst the high summits of the Smokies are meadow-like openings, the grass balls. Surrounded by forest, their origin and persistence in this land of trees is a mystery. The attractiveness of their locations and the vistas of the surrounding mountains make them a goal of many hikers. Gregory Bald, at 4,948 feet, is located on the crest of the Smokies. Dominated by a turf of mountain oat grass and other grasses, the Balds also harbor numerous herbs and occasional shrubs. William Bartram described the flame azalea as the most gay and brilliant flowering shrub yet known. Gregory Bald has one of the finest displays in the park. In the Smokies, the shrub frequently reaches heights of 18 feet. It is known to mountain people as wild honeysuckle. Along the trail to Andrews Bald, it is a show of vivid color amid cool green foliage, sunlight, and shadow. The evergreen-leaved rhododendron thrives on open slopes away from forest shade. The ridges covered with masses of the flowering shrub are called heath balls by the botanists and slicks by mountain people. Blooming profusely during June and July, the rhododendron is one of the most popular flowers of the Smokies. Pine, eastern hemlock, American beech, yellow poplar, black cherry, yellow birch, sugar maple, magnolia. There are more tree species in the Smokies than in all of northern Europe. Pine and oak forests often dominate the south-facing ridges and slopes. The kinds of oak and pine vary with elevation and degree of exposure, but the woodlands are characteristically dry, and there is often a heavy understory of shrubs. The northern hardwood forest and the cove hardwood forest are communities of temperate deciduous forest. It is a suggestion of the forests which eons ago covered the ancestral Smokies and most of the eastern North American continent. The cove hardwood forest grows on the deep, moist soils of lowlands and sheltered slopes below 4,000 feet. Trees rise clear of the forest floor for 75 to 100 feet. To take far-gazing eyes from mountain vistas, to look down to the feet of leafy, towering monarchs, is to enter a new world of the Smokies. This is nature's cradle. Within the shadowed woodlands, under stones and logs, beneath leaves and roots, in every nook and cranny, the incredible diversity and richness of life is the hallmark of the Great Smoky Mountains. Come, enter and discover the fascinating other world of the Smokies. Appearing suddenly, sometimes in places where they have not been seen before, peeking from under leaf, bark, and stem, the mushroom is one of nature's most mysterious life forms. The mushroom has been connected with superstition and the supernatural since ancient times. Some are gourmet fare. Many contain dangerous toxins, of which much remains to be learned. They lack chlorophyll and must rely on organic material for food. Dead wood, leaf litter, and living plants supply nutrition. The bricktop grows in clusters on deciduous stumps or logs. Fungi hastens decomposition of dead trees and plants. The underside of the cap of the poisonous jack-o'-lantern emits a green glow if gathered fresh and taken into a dark room. Strikingly beautiful and deadly. The destroying angel is a member of the Amanita family. A few are edible, most are toxic, and are the cause of 90% of fatal poisoning. The panther derives its name from the patches on its cap. If eaten, it induces delirium. There are about 2,000 species in the park, all playing a vital role in its ecosystem. From the cool, shaded sanctuary of the creatures living closest to the earth, to windswept branches against the sky, from lowest meadow to highest peak, nature carpets her floor with living color. Few flowers are more attractive than the lilies. Common orange day lily, native of Europe and Asia, has a brief lifespan. It is beautiful for a day. Silkgrass is called Spanish bayonet in the American Southwest. Many of the flowering plants are exotics. Thimbleberry is the local name for the purple flowering raspberry. The early settlers used the fruits for making jams and jellies. The nectar of the flowers of the sourwood tree produces the choicest of all wild honey. It is the Smokies' only member of the heath family that is truly a tree. Mountain laurel grows up to 5,800 feet elevation, and when in full bloom, is one of the Smokies' most magnificent shrub. Wild carrot is closely related to the common carrot. It is often called Queen Anne's lace. This European import flowers throughout the summer. Black-eyed Susan, or yellow daisy, is a sun-loving flower from the western plains and prairies. It grows abundantly and flowers from June to August. Among the life forms of the forest floor are the reptiles and the amphibians. There are about 70 different species occurring within the park. Salamanders avoid direct light. Most are nocturnal. They may be aquatic, terrestrial, or both. The red-cheeked salamander is probably the only vertebrate found exclusively in the Smokies. The colorful and graceful five-lined skink, a lizard, is characterized by a reddish copper-colored head and a bright blue tail when young. Stillness pervades in these hills. There is a timeless life here that heeds a clock different from ours. Its unseen presence is felt in the quiet, hidden places of cove and glade and stream, and in the rock, the heart of the hills that was not greatly disturbed by the approach of continental glaciers. And it is heard in the whisper of centuries-old trees that watch the coming and going of man. Three national park visitor centers aid the visiting public for a more enjoyable stay. This is the Sugar Lands Visitor Center, located on the Tennessee side of the park. Maps, publications, park folders, information about road conditions, daily and scheduled activities are a few of the resources available to the public. Museum displays provide insight into the park's natural history. Animal life thrives in the Smokies and is of great interest to visitors. There are about 50 species of mammals within the park. However, the secretive or nocturnal habits of many make casual sightings rather infrequent. Here, exhibits simulating animals in their natural habitat provide a close-up view. The Great Smoky Mountains Natural History Association is a non-profit organization cooperating with the National Park Service in providing visitors with interpretive literature. Proceeds from the sale of publications are used to support the educational and visitor service programs. Chartered in 1952, the Natural History Association has funded numerous projects, operating Great Smoky Mountains Institute, providing monies to organize the park archives, establishing an AM radio information system, scientific research programs, and the building of the Cades Cove Visitor Center. Interpretive programs are conducted by National Park Service employees trained in the natural history of the Great Smokies. Here, naturalists demonstrate the means of trapping the wild boar, an animal arriving uninvited into the park in the late 1940s or early 1950s. Boars have proven to be an ecological disaster, destroying the park's natural resources and competing with native animals in its ravening quest for food. The Park Service is engaged in a major control program that has resulted in the removal of over 2,200 hogs in a 3-year period. This has significantly reduced the amount of hog damage. Guided walks are an enjoyable way to learn about nature and history while seeing the park. Due to the Natural History Association's efforts and the National Park Service interpretive programs, millions of visitors gain a better understanding of the park's value in our world's natural heritage. The growing need for recreational opportunities and areas by an increasing population brings many to the wilderness. Newfound Gap Road has replaced the Indian Trail and Wagon Road of yesteryear. It is the only highway crossing the mountains within the park. About 170 miles of paved roads and 100 miles of gravel roads offer an opportunity to see a vast area of the park. Self-guiding auto tour booklets and wayside exhibits interpret natural and historical features. Secluded coves or high ridges, the heart and the intimacy of the back country. The secrets of the mountains are revealed along the unpaved, less traveled roads within the park. For 150 years, Parson Branch was an over-mountain route into North Carolina. Within the stillness of its surroundings, the traveler, in imagination, is called to another time, another age of adventure and pioneer history. Within the seemingly endless ridges and forests is a broad, fertile basin. For 115 years, until this area became a part of the Great Smoky Mountains National Park, a community existed in this rich valley. This is Cades Cove. Here, as elsewhere in these mountains, homes were set on the rocky hillsides, flat valleys, and the deep hollows. Some of the homes and farmsteads have been restored and preserved. Today, the park is a World Heritage Site containing about 100 structures grouped within 5 historic districts. They are utilized to interpret southern Appalachian culture from 1825 to 1900. In 1819, the state of Tennessee acquired the land by Indian treaty. The state sold it to speculators, who in turn sold it to the settlers. Cattle grazing the pasture lands help hold the ever-present forest at bay to preserve the feeling for the lives and homes of the settlers. Life in the Cove was arduous, but little different from rural life elsewhere in the 19th century. Farm labor was essential. As the valley floor was cleared of trees, crops of wheat, corn, oats, and rye were planted, and orchards of apple and peaches. Most of the pioneers came from established communities. They were of German, English, Irish, and Scots descent. With them, they brought the tools and skill of the old world culture, enriched with what they had learned from the Indians. Old buildings have been assembled in the cable mill area from other places in the park. From them, a sense of rural life around 1900 may be experienced. The principal crop was corn, and corn cribs were a necessity for every farm. Stored in the shuck and on the cob, it would dry until ground into meal, chicken feed, or used as livestock fodder. Pork was the preferred meat of the mountain people. When cured over a slow fire in this smokehouse, it could be preserved for months at a time. Cable Mill is the only building originally located here. Most families had tub mills for grinding corn, but could only grind about a bushel a day. The large mill, powered by a water wheel, became an important feature in the community. It was operated well into the 20th century. The sorghum mill is an interesting contrast to the water wheel mill. It too was used well into the 20th century on mountain farms. Sorghum cane was grown to provide a sweetener for the bread, grits, hominy, and mush made from corn. The cane stalks were stripped of their leaves and fed into the horse-drawn mill. The mill squeezed the juice out. It was then boiled down into molasses over a nearby furnace. Employees of the National Park Service demonstrate its use. Demonstrations of other mountain lifeways are periodically provided throughout the park. Most people aspired to and eventually built frame houses. The Gregg Cable House was built in 1879 and may have been the first frame house in Cades Cove. Large ponds held many tons of hay and fodder and were common in Cades Cove. The cantilever construction technique originated centuries ago in Europe. Wagons were used for hauling supplies and animals. They were also the only means of family transportation. From within the shade-darkened blacksmith shop comes the violent clang of hammer on iron. The blacksmith was a primary figure in the community. He forged the tools necessary for pioneer life. John Oliver purchased his land at the east end of the cove in 1826. He was one of the first white settlers to populate the cove. His home, constructed entirely by hand, is typical of many houses found on the eastern frontier in the mid-1850s. These small structures frequently housed a family of 10 to 12 people. All the materials to build a home were taken from the surrounding forest. Trees provided the logs with which to build the walls and the roof. The open spaces between the hewn logs were filled with mud to seal out rain and wind. Chimneys were raised by setting rocks in mud mortar. Small doors and windows maintained the strength of the building and conserved heat. Home building was a community effort. Logs were scored along their length with a felling axe, then hewn with a broad axe. Gravity locked the logs together. They needed no pegs or nails. Wooden shingles were split from short pieces of logs to cover the roof. Even the horse-drawn sled, which was used to haul the construction materials, had to be made by hand. From home site to home site, the structures bear notable differences in workmanship and the use of wood materials. Although they look alike, each reflects the builder's individuality. The Hamp-Tipton place was built a few years after the Civil War. In 1878, it served as the home of the Cove's first blacksmith. The Elijah Oliver place indicates a rugged use of stone and wood and is very much a part of the forest from which it was built. The house was constructed of round logs. Their rough texture is emphasized by the smoothness of mud filling the open spaces between. Some of the better carpentry work in the park is in the Dan Lawson place. The chimney is made of brick rather than stone and is unusual for this time and place. Separated from the mainstream of America, mountain people depended upon themselves and their neighbors. Saddles and door hinges were not purchased. They were handmade. Tanning leather took skill and months of hard work. With a little help from his friends, the cooper made the barrels. The women made soap in a kettle over a fire with lard and lye leached from wood ashes. The process took 5 hours. And then washed clothes with the soap on wash day. Carrying the buckets of water and stirring the steaming clothes with a stick was a full day's work. Guns and pothooks, nails and hoes, plowshares and kitchen knives. From the blacksmith came the tools of everyday life. The earliest settlers in Cataloochee arrived in 1814. By the turn of the century, it was the largest settlement in the Smokies. Only fragments remain to remind us of a once thriving community. The children attended school, and the entire family attended church. There were common gatherings for weddings and funerals. The community was an extension of the household, not only by economic necessity, but by blood and marriage. Palmer Chapel was built in 1898. Even today, friends and families returned for reunions and services. In the 1790s, the Mingus family moved into the Oconaluftee Valley and built a water wheel mill on what came to be called Mingus Creek. In 1886, the old mill was replaced with this structure. Unlike the original, this mill is powered by a cast iron turbine. The turbine operates under contained and constant water pressure moving through its veins. From a dam on the creek, the water flows through a mill race. This wooden flume carries it across the sloping ground to the penstock by the mill. The flow of water fills the penstock, providing the 22-foot head of pressure needed to operate the mill. A water gate at the dam controls the flow of water. The miller can adjust the flow with an operating lever which is accessible within the mill. Corn is poured into the receiving hopper. The mills, turned by the turbines, grind it into the texture preferred by the customer. This is called custom milling. In the old days, this was a sociable time for the customers who were awaiting their turn. A toll, usually 1/8 of the ground meal or flour, was charged. The miller could trade it at the store or sell it for cash. In the rich valley of the Oconaluftee, home for the early settlers were not simply a cabin, it was the entire farmstead. The Pioneer Farmstead is a collection of authentic structures and artifacts that have been assembled here from their original locations in the park. It is more than an exhibit of structures. It is a living demonstration of life on a pioneer farm. The main goal of the pioneer farm family in the frontier wilderness was survival itself. Water, food, and shelter for the family and farm animals was a constant, basic need. Geese and ducks were a part of the affluent farmstead. Their feathers are fine and add a soft touch to beds and pillows. Hogs became a more reliable part of the pioneers' diet as the half-wild razorbacks turned into the more domesticated breed. They were fed a diet of corn and weeds when kept in the pens. Along with the garden and a few animals, the buildings, seen on a walk through the farmstead, represent all the pioneer had in the struggle for survival. This farmhouse, built in 1901, is one of the finest of this type of dwelling constructed in the Smokies. It was built by a master craftsman and displays expert workmanship throughout. On the front porch, a member of the park personnel exhibits a handmade loom and explains the technique used in weaving cloth. She and the other park personnel seen demonstrating the activities of the settlers are members of the Living History Program. Through this program, a vital part of our culture's heritage is brought to life so that we can better understand the lifeways of our forefathers. For the sake of the national park concept, the people gave their ancestral homes and lands so that generations to come may know and share these mountains. Through preservation of these historic areas and artifacts, a representation of a vanished way of life remains for us today. Cherokees, pioneer settlers, park visitors, the cycles of man are echoes of the cycles of the seasons. Gentle rains and warm sunlight bring a response of joyous bloom on trees, shrubs, and from the earth itself. Long, warm days and cool nights. This is summer in the Smokies. The days are lazy, and the living forest is heavy with richness. Across the mountains, shorter days and frosty nights herald a sudden change in the leaves. Autumn is the time of settling, of preparation for resting. In a final show of grandeur, the leaves are dying. The trees, too, will rest. Nature works unceasingly, and there is an undercurrent of urgency as winter draws near. With the first snowfall of winter, a quiet peace pervades the land. Hibernating animals sleep, but others are about. This is their season. The mountains belong to them. Fog moves over the mountaintops, freezing and clinging to the evergreens. Each blade, each twig is clothed in a coat of ice. Melting snow and rushing streams, the forest is cautiously stirring, then bursts with the vigor of life as Earth's cycle begins anew. One of the most plentiful wildlife species to be seen in the park is the white-tailed deer. When the park was established in the 1930s, the deer population had become scarce. Habitat destruction by logging was one of the forces which had taken its toll. Under park protection, their numbers have increased. From leafy canopy or dense thicket comes a burst of song, or a chorus of chirps. There are over 200 species of birds in the park. Nearly 80 make the Smokies their home in summer and winter. The many creatures of the forest are always near in the Smokies. Most are unseen. Some are nocturnal. All are shy. The river otter, a former inhabitant, extirpated in the 1930s, was reintroduced to the park in 1986. The black bear, symbol of the Smokies, is the most common bear in the United States. Seeing a bear is perhaps one of the most desired experiences anticipated by park visitors. It is here in this back country that he may best be observed as a wild animal in his native habitat. Cubs are born blind and hairless. They leave the den about 2 months after birth, and, inquisitive by nature, quickly become adept at climbing trees and foraging for food. Their natural diet is 90% of vegetable matter. Berries and nuts are among the preferred foods. However, obtaining food from people is easier than foraging for it in the wild. There are approximately 500 bears in the park, as opposed to nearly 10 million visitors annually. The need to protect this powerful, intelligent animal from human interference has resulted in intensive research into bear behavior. Panhandlers along roadsides or campsites have a lifespan of 1/2 that of a bear living in a normal and natural state. Roadside feeding and purposely leaving food out at a campsite are not only illegal, but a grave disservice to park bears. The campaign by the National Park Service for improved visitor information, enforcement of regulations by the park staff, and the removal of problem bears from front country areas will allow bears to live out their lives in a natural existence. Great Smokies National Park is charged with managing this natural area as a remnant of primitive America. Along with the people have gone certain forms of life. The chestnut tree, eradicated by blight in the 1930s, and the passenger pigeon, which once darkened these skies, was extirpated around the turn of the century. Life is fragile, sometimes ephemeral. With understanding, conservation, and preservation, all life forms may be allowed to live out their natural span, to regenerate, and like the earth, endure. The mountains, naturalist John Muir once said, are fountains not only of rivers and fertile soil, but of men. Within us is the need to sense the tranquility of open spaces, to know the quiet places, clear-flowing streams, and the life that shares this world with us. It is the secret of the world that all things subsist and do not die, but only retire a little from sight and afterwards return again.